Right. So 1 second. The reason why I'm going through the CIMA structure is with the case study, you need to approach it in a very different way to that of what you guys have done and used to. Okay, so it's just the approach is quite different. So that's what I wanted to elaborate a little bit. So what we will go through is the case study, the structure of it before we even get into the scenario, okay, and what the examiner expects from you. So this is a little bit about me, who I am, and my experience that will definitely help you with these case studies. And I particularly like the case studies, the operations, management, and strategic case studies. These case studies change every quarter, and that brings in a different dimension all the time. I've got very good success with the case studies, and in the strategic level I had a world prize winner as well, so that's quite a great achievement. I feel as if I have won the prize, never mind him. So it was great, and that this guy was from the UAE. Now, when it comes to the competencies, these are the key competencies that they're testing you on, right? In the OCS space, they will be testing you a lot on your technical skills, right? That's where they will be testing. They will want to know more about your technical knowledge, the finance aspects of it, the management accounting side of it. The business people and leadership skills are much less, right? However, when you go into the exam, in your case study, when they ask you the question, in your answer, you need to have all these 4 competencies, right? When you write the answer. So you have to be conscious of it. Your writing skill matters a lot. As in, you need to have an answer plan. So as soon as you approach, you see the question, don't launch into writing the answer. Take a few minutes to write your answer plan, okay? Understand what is the examiner asking. How many questions are there in that one question? I cannot emphasize enough how important this point is. How many questions are there in that one question? I've got many students who come in and say, oh, you know what, I got moderate in all 4 competencies and I've failed. There was one student who said, oh, I've got 85 marks, right? That is a pass mark, but I failed. That is because you've not, in the case of where the person has got 4 competencies is all moderate, means the person has missed certain questions, right? I can guarantee this. So be careful when answering your questions. Now, and again, when it comes to business, people, and leadership skills, we'll go down what they are. And ethics play a huge role in your CIMA exam. So it's important that you know your ethics very well, as well as integrating. So integrating, you need to integrate all these competencies in a way that it flows pretty much as one, right? So this is a very important skill, exam skill, that you need to have. Now let's go to the next slide to see what are the competencies which will be tested. So your technical, you can see your technical side of it, the financial statements, IRRs, valuations, financial, the ratios of it, right? The controls, all these aspects will get tested pretty heavily, right? Because you're in the operational level, you're a part of an operation team, so you should be knowing this stuff very well. So that's what they want to get from you. Try to understand, do you understand these aspects? Now, business people leadership skills are much less. The reason is, at this particular level, you may not have people who report to you, right? So you may not be playing a senior role in the organization, hence you don't have much, they don't put much emphasis in people and leadership, right? However, still there is quite a bit, because you need to influence, right? The influencing skills have to be there. Now, we can see in business, you can bring in there is a lot of the business part of it comes quite a bit, because you have to analyze your pestle, five forces, Mandela's matrix, and so right, the value chain. HR will play a big role, balance scorecard. Okay, so all these things, the tools that you have learned in your E2 P2 will come into play here, right? And what they will be doing is actually not asking you to define, or kind of for you to do a full classification of an answer, but more so applying this into your case study. Now, people and leadership is, again, what they're giving here is some structures, right? As you can see, they're giving us the structures that can be applied in any scenario, right? Now, a little bit more elaboration on what is business skills, right? If there is a project coming up, the question is, does it fit with the goals of the firm, right? Does it fit with the strategic position? The economic side of it, we need to look at it as well, the feasibility of it. How will it impact our cash flows, share price? Because, well, we are trying to make an investment. From where are we getting the funds, right? So the social angle nowadays, if you look at 15 years ago, this would not have played a major role, but CSR is a huge thing now. Okay, so you need to bring in CSR as well. Technology plays a significant role. Again, whatever we do, technology is an enabler. So how this enabling factor will help us to provide a very good solution, options to our business, right? And then we look at the organizational and operational, how it will affect the job roles, etc. Right? People skills, even though you are not in a very senior role, still you need to understand about your stakeholders, right? Your ethical issues in a situation. How would the competitors behave? Yeah. And the leadership skills are the personal leaderships, right? And how you will use leadership skills to communicate. The team building, which is extremely important, you will play this in the operational, as an operational person, yeah. And the motivation, again, right? How to motivate team members, because you'll be part of a team. And then you look at change management as well. In anything, any new thing coming up, a project or restructure, etc., you will definitely have change management. Okay. Now this, I love this this particular model, right? This is the Mandela's matrix, and we will be using this quite a bit. Now, Venetia, do you know about Mandela's matrix?
Yeah, it speaks about the stakeholders who has, based on their power and interest in the business.
So when we go through our case study today, what I will be asking
Mm-hmm.
you to apply certain quadrants and say how each of those will get linked to what our case study. Okay, how
Okay.
it
Yeah.
can impact certain parts of our stakeholders, right? And this will
Mm-hmm.
be a fantastic model that you can use right throughout your CIMA journey, right? And not only CIMA but also in your personal life, because
Mm-hmm.
in your professional life you need to use this. Yeah, it's a very good tool. So how it will help you is to structure your answer. This is the part that will help you. Okay, five forces. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Again, this will give you that
Yeah.
structure for you to answer certain things. So you will not talk about, yes, who thought about five forces, what is the definition of each of these things. That's not what they're looking for, but applying it into your case study, right? And the change model is unfreeze, moving, and refreeze. This is applied when you need to there is a change, right? Then what you need to be conscious of is there is going to be resistance to change from all areas, but it's a case of how you communicate, how you manage it. Yeah, this is the most important thing. How do you communicate, how do you manage it, and take them through that journey to where you want them to go to, right? That's why we're saying unfreezing. I mean, it's like, if you are taken to an area or asked to do something that you're not familiar with, you always resist it, right? Whether you like it, I mean, whether you know, I mean, even if you know there's something positive, but still you resist. Yeah, because you don't know what to expect, right? That's normal human behavior. You will resist,
Right.
right? Do you remember any situation where you were introduced to an accounting application or some new technology? Any example that you can think of?
Well, in the place where I work,
Right.
uh, last year, we have implemented a new tool called electronic banking statement.
Right.
So what it does is like it creates automation reconciliation of bank accounts.
Yes.
But actually, okay, it sounds good, but it to initially implement the whole scenario, there's a lot of hard work to it in the initial the phasing phase.
Yes.
So initially, when this concept was introduced, yes, it becomes a bit, like an hassle. You need to do extra work towards it, only then actually get the fruit out of it. So once the whole scenario was communicated, right, between us, because over here we are closely linked with India team as well.
Right.
So we have a close calls with them and take out the pros and cons of this particular application. How is it going to benefit us? Only once we were clear that yes, this is how it's. As of now, we have to work towards this, but once we implement this, we are going to have a benefit out of it. Only then we were able to implement the whole structure. That's like we were initially being resistant towards the change, but once we came to know the benefits of it,
Yes.
and then we were able to adapt to that change.
Yes.
That's how it.
Yeah. Yeah. And always when it comes to um, things like that automation, there is resistance because people will think, oh, okay, this is going to take my job away,
Yes.
right? That's one of the
Yeah.
first things that comes to mind, never mind whether it's good for the company or not, right?
Yes.
Because first it's you, who cares about the
Right.
company, right? First it's me and how it will affect
Mhm.
me, right? That's That's the first thing that people will see. So you need to first provide that comfort to that individual, right? This is actually going to augment your skill set and not really harm you where you're going to lose a job or something, right? Whereas you can sell it in such a way that it's a skill set that you're going to develop, and even if you go to another position, this is very good, right? That's how you can sell it. And then once that's the kind of difficult part where you getting them to change stuff, change their thinking, change their behavior. This is very difficult, right? And in your case study, there is a lot of this that you can use. We will come to it, a lot of scenarios. The next stage is you're going to that new place, right? Redesigning new thing. And then once they're there, they're comfortable, you're going to refreeze it, because that's your new way of doing things, right? So that's why it's called the change freeze model. It's unfreezing and then refreezing. Okay. This is a different leadership styles. We'll not get into this now because different theories are also there. We will maybe in your case study you can analyze the case study and link it to any of some of the theories that's there. Okay. Pestle, of course you need to use it, because anything that you're trying to do, any project, any new thing, you need to think of your pestle and say, how does it impact my new activity that I'm planning on doing. Plus, even from an existing operation perspective, you need to check out your pestle, right? So for example, now we will look at there might be a VAT coming through, right? So that's a big thing for us, people in the GCC. So that's going to impact our systems, the way we do things, etc. Therefore, you need to be aware of it. Yeah, you need to be aware of it. Now, corporate governance also does play a role here. We'll come to this because we see the top senior managers who are there. They've spoken about them. We will see is there anything that we can propose as better governance. Yeah. And this is another model I love, and I can use it in every kind of situation. It's called the SAFS model. So particularly when it comes to projects, you look at, okay, is it suitable, is it feasible, acceptable, and the sustainability of it. This will also give you a good structure to answer questions, right? And when we go through some questions, you will see that as well, how you can answer, right? Any questions so far?
No.
No, nothing.
Right. Where do you think you can use the SAFS model in one of your organizations? Where do you think?
Probably while taking up a new project or implementing a new operating system.
Mm-hmm. And when you say suitability, how does it work? Mm-hmm. Let's say you're going in for a new project. Yeah. Suitability, what does it mean?
Meaning if it actually is worth it to take it for the company.
Mm-hmm.
Will it add value?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, yeah. And if even if the employees or the current people working there will be able to adapt to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So suitability is also basically, if I say I'm an airline and there's another opportunity in the hotel industry or something completely different, if I want to get into that, the first question I will ask is, well, is it suitable? Does it fit in with our strategy? Yeah. So those are the questions that is asked. See, does it work with our
Right.
current structure, right?
Anja,
Yes.
can we suitable in this? We can use it like does it fall in the company's does it fall in line with the company's vision and mission?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
It gets to that, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because they're talking about a strategy, and strategy comes from your vision and the mission and the vision and all that, right? So that's absolutely right. Feasibility is where you say, well, is it feasible, right? Do we have the resources? Do we have, and resources meaning the money, the people, etc., right? Is it feasible that I get into this, right? Acceptability is then that's where your stakeholder analysis comes through, and what is the acceptance level here. If it's a very risky project, will our stakeholders accept this? Yeah. Sustainability, nowadays we look at everything from a sustainability angle and say, how does it contribute, right? The sustainability of of the whole company, etc., right? Unsoft is in the form of growth. How does the company want to grow? Yeah. Am I growing with a new product into a new market? Very, very risky, and your product has to be pretty good at this point in time. Or am I talking about penetration? That means existing product, yeah, and into the existing market. A lot of advertising and a lot of strategies that I will use to get into the market. And existing market, you can use a new product. You can see Virgin, they have done it really well, right? Current market, they have brought in various products because of the reputation brand they've got. They don't have a problem in selling new products, yeah. And then we also have another quadrant, which is existing product going into a new market, right? Ethics. Now, ethics, when you get a question or in any question, you look at, you have a question and just see, is there an ethical aspect here, right? You need to basically think, is it ethical or is it legal, right? Sometimes it's not, it's unethical, but it's legal, right? That's there. Then you need to look at what is the fundamental principle in ethics that's got impacted here. Who are the affected parties? How are we going to resolve this issue? Okay. And do you require professional legal guidance? And if so, how you do it? And then if there is further issues, you refuse to associate with that activity and move out. And there again, we can have plenty of things in your case study with regard to this, right? This is the risk management, right? I will go through this when I go through the case study. And the risk management cycle, basically what we're saying is, in anything there is a risk, but the most important thing is to first identify what is the risk, right? Understand and assess the scale of the risk, right? What is the probability of it? How are we going to respond to it, right? As in, well, if it's a very highly unlikely event, the probability is very low, then what would we do, right? Maybe we will get take an insurance, right? We have to implement the strategy and allocate responsibilities as well, because maybe we will try to mitigate it in a different sense. Then what are we going to do? Implementation, monitoring of the controls of the organization, and review, refine process, and do it again. So this risk story is not something that you do just once a year. It's an ongoing thing, right? And especially Vinisha, when it comes to oil and gas, you would have seen this. They'll do it every time. It's very big in oil and gas. Did you get exposed to this one?
Yeah, not much, but they used to do a lot while taking up projects because I was still at the back end in the office.
Right.
It usually happened more towards the project management when they picked up projects.
Right. Yeah. And not only during the projects, but even in operations, there is a lot of risks that a company will face, and that's what when it comes to IT, they do something called disaster recovery. And what are the business continuity plans? This is not an IT thing, but also a business.
Have this business country. What would be like? What would happen in a total chaos situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm part of a business continuity program as well.
Okay. So what do you do then?
So basically, on a complete disaster level, then every person has a key target assigned to it. Like for example, I am the one to maintain all the records and send the backup files to our head office. So once
Right.
and all over the Dubai, like we are 7 of us. So each of our houses becomes a separate unit. So like for my house becomes a data recovery unit. One of my IT, his becomes the IT hub. My director, his house becomes a finance operations hub. My HR, it becomes the HR. So each one of us has our own target. So whatever happens, HR has to collect all the files, clear all the records from here. Everything has to be done within 24 hours.
Right. So excellent. So what it is that's the records, and that means you can't get access to your office. What do you do? That's the kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And another scenario would be, okay, people are not there. What do you do?
Yes.
Right? Because there are, the things that's happening nowadays. There are so many issues. Nowadays it's more frequent than before. So in organizations, they need to have this business continuity plans. And another thing that they need to do is simulate it as well. It's like the fire drills, right? You have everything, but just watching a fire drill on a video is not going to get you anywhere. But the more practices that you do, the better it is, right? Because once we did a fire drill here, and I was telling the guys, well, if there was an actual fire, we would have all died, right? Because it took that long for us to come from like about the 5th floor down, because nobody is focused that much on the timing, what they should hold the rail. They should just, everybody is too busy taking their laptops, on one hand, and taking the handbag on the other, or their mobile, right? And trying to go down, which is extremely dangerous, right? When there is a fire, you just forget about all those and just get out, just evacuate, right? So there has to be activities. This needs to get simulated as well. So how do this is the risk response. The model is called the TARA model: transfer, accept, abandon, and control. So depending on the activity, we will form a risk response. If the frequency is low and the severity is low, you accept it. And then you say, okay, what are the things that we can do to mitigate, but you kind of accept it. And if it is a frequency is low but the severity is high, you try to transfer. and that's where the insurance plays a part, right? And then you need to look at the premiums, etc. But the frequency is high, severity is high as well, then you try to completely abandon this thing because the exposure is quite great, and you see, how can I avoid it completely, because it's a big risk for you. Control and reduce, again the frequency is high and the severity is low. So what are the control mechanisms that we have in place, the contingency plans to reduce it, right? So the risk register is an important thing. So Anil, have you got a risk register in your company?
As we don't have it locally, but we have one which is, I'm not like in touch with it, but we have one which is combined for the Middle East, India, and Africa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We do
Okay.
have one.
Right.
I'm not very.
Yeah. So that's because you're in multiple geographic locations, so you have one to cover most geographic locations. A little bit more on the risks. So then you look at, well, is this risk operational? Is it a strategic risk, hazardous risk, or a financial risk, right? This again gives you a flavor of how can I mitigate or reduce the risk. Okay, and we're coming to the end of this set of slides where you look at how to analyze the pre-scene. You need to look at the key topics, headlines given. You look at a space given. For example, they talk a lot about the different types of hotels, right? They've given, okay, these are the number of hotels. They talk about each of the hotels and the profitability of it and so on and so forth. So they may even focus one whole variant on one hotel even, okay? So that's a possibility. Then you look at what models you can use, okay? You look at who are your directors. We also look at the past papers and adapt questions from the past papers, yeah? Sorry, and you also look at the issues that can crop up, okay, in this particular industry. We need to highlight what are the issues that can come through, and we need to practice mock exams as well. Yeah. Right. Okay. So at this point in time, let us go to our pre-scene. So what do you guys think of the pre-scene? Did you like it? Do you like the case study or what?
Well, it is interesting because in Dubai we have a lot of hotels, so yeah, it feels interesting.
Right. Okay. What about you, Venetia?
The good thing is that it's hotel, so we do have a pretty good knowledge on it.
Have you
But
worked
there's
in a
so much
hotel?
information. No, but I have worked
Hospitality?
I've taken very basic in one of my, not really, but I used to do books for hospitality. Like I used to be part of the research team who used to
Right.
research on the hotels and stuff like that, but not too much, no.
Right. Okay.
So I have a good idea of the hotels,
Yeah.
but not worked in a hotel, no.
Right. Okay. Now, the first part of this is what I want you to do is as we go along, take down notes, right? I also have got some slides on the strategic analysis of it, but I want you to take notes down because this would be kind of the last time you go through in such a detail before your exam, because exam is quite close by. Yeah. So now the first 3 paragraphs, I want to ask you, what are the key things, Vinisha, that you see as important here?
Should I just say it, or you want to read it?
No, just say it. What are the key things?
Firstly, it's a mature economy and a warm climate.
Yes.
Um,
So what will you see
then
into
it
that?
is-
Sorry, on that point, what will you see
Sorry.
into that? Mature economy and warm climate. So what does it mean? As in, what can you do with that piece of information?
So, with the warm climate means a lot of tourists,
Mm-hmm.
and the market is like a cold country. People don't usually come in the winters and stuff. If it's a warm climate, then all year round you have people coming in,
Good.
tourists or business or
Yeah.
anything. With mature economy, it also states something like it's a city, you could call it. So there is a lot of businesses over there as well.
And one other thing is,
yeah.
when you say mature economy, so things might not be all that cheap, right?
Right.
The wages, etc., in this particular country may not be all that cheap, right? It's not like your Thailand or an Asian country, right? Or Vietnam, where you say, yeah, it's a warm climate, mature
Right.
economy. It's not like that, yeah. So, and also they talk about the currency, yeah, okay. And what else can you say?
Right. In the same para or the next?
No, the first 3 paragraphs.
Okay. Again, it's the other thing that I noticed, that it's a family business.
Yeah,
If you see, like, it's a brother and sister doing it together.
yeah.
And
And also they've got this, in succession, like they started in 2005, and then in 2008 to 12 they went on purchasing a couple of hotels, and 15 they purchased another, the 4th one was purchased, right? So they not only
Right.
own, but they also operate. Now if you understand, the owner can be separated from the operator when it comes to hotels,
Right.
right? So JW Marriott Marquis, owner is
Yeah.
Emirates, the Emirates Group, operated by the chain, okay, by the Marriott chain. So that's
Yeah.
different, yeah. So the owner operator concept is not here, because they are the owners and the operators as well,
Right.
okay. And so all hotels were purchased as going concern. And what does that mean? That means there's goodwill, okay. How you deal with goodwill, you need to understand that. Then they also talk about refurbishments, right?
Yeah.
They mention about a flood, okay. Interesting. A risk, yeah. What flood is it? Is it
Right.
something from, are you next to a river and there's flooding happened, or just that your flooding happened from your existing infrastructure, something went wrong, right? So that's another thing to be cautious. Then they say hotels have each have bar and restaurant facilities, and they've given a lot of details about it as well, right? And another interesting one here, I will this particular paragraph. Anil, what do you see as an interesting remark here? I can see something.
Well, in this particular paragraph, I can see there are no gyms or spa. Although that's important, but that's a potential way they could expand. There's no spa, and it's managed independently. Basically, they have their own hotel manager.
Yes. Right. And then if you look at the last two paragraphs, what does it say?
They are maintaining the basic accounting records independently, and the last paragraph, one second. Yeah, all the directors are actually based in Hotel Ones. Basically, that's what do you call it? The ball, the management meetings, everything is held in Hotel One.
Right. So what I see here is it's basically brother, sister, husband, their husband, respective husband and wife, who's managing this whole thing. It's a big family affair, right? That will have negative impacts as well, because that is we are coming into corporate governance now. Okay. And then we also see that each manager, you have a hotel manager, but they run hotels independently, right? So they also talk a little bit more on how this accounting is done, which shows there's a lot of room for improvement. Suddenly, anything from you that you want to add? Sandhani, can you hear us? Let me see if you can hear. Hi Sandhani, can you hear us? Hello? Hello? Can you hear? Hi Sandhani, can you hear us? I'm not sure whether she can hear. Okay, so I'll put her on mute.
Hi, Angie. Sorry.
Right. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry. I was actually on a call. Just sorry.
Right.
I'm just
Okay.
at work, so just yeah.
Okay. Do you see and did you get a chance to have a read through?